Psalm 109 verses 17 to 20 An anathema, let this be the Lord's reward. Psalm 109:17, as he loved cursing, so let it come to him, as he did not delight in blessing, so let it be far from him. This wicked man loved to curse others, even those that were beyond the physical reach of his verbal cruelty, neither did he delight in offering his blessing, taking no pleasure in the well-being of others or any measure that would promote their happiness. Surely the malicious man cannot complain if he is judged by his own rule. We have an old adage that speaks to this, where we should have an expectation of a malicious person's chickens to come home to roost. Deep down in every man's soul, the justice of the retaliation is established, not necessarily for private revenge, but as a measure of public justice, and under God's law such punishment is both demanded by and deserved by the crime. I mentioned this passage earlier in the commentary under verses 14 and 15 where the Jews that shouted "Crucify him" acknowledged this principle of the law. His blood be upon us and our children. Never was an imprecation more dreadfully fulfilled. If this passage is predictive of Judas Iscariot, it meets him full on, and in his despair, Judas took his own life. His fate was the result of his own choice. Judas was the epitome of legalism, and he took no joy in another's good. As is the case of our subjects being blessed, they would be wasted on them as much as they would be in the case of similar folks in our own day, those who hate those who would gently seek to lead them to Christ. Psalm 109:18-19, as he clothed himself with cursing as with his garment, so let it enter his body like water, and like oil into his bones. 19 Let it be to him like the garment which covers him, and for a belt with which he girds himself continually. The folks to whom David is referring were in such a habit of cursing others that insolence became like a robe that they wear. Therefore it is like common justice that they should receive a just recompense for their malice, as in an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. Therefore, let God's cursing him be his shame, just as he cursed his neighbor, feeding his own pride. Let it cleave to him and bind him up as if it were a girdle. Psalm 109:20, let this be the Lord's reward to my accusers, and to those who speak evil against my person. The psalmist concludes the imprecation with this punitive statement, let it be so. Verse 6 through 20 speak of the work of the psalmist adversaries who speak evil against my soul. Within the sight of the Lord, all that has been said consists of the evil words of my enemies with slandering imprecations against my soul, that their curses may affect God's justice toward my innocence. The inspired singer now turns to lament and prayer. David petitions the court of God's justice in 21 to verse 29, asking for deliverance for the sake of God's name. In verses 22 to 25, the psalmist asks for his own sake personally, and then afterward, he requests that his enemies be rightfully castigated.